What's up, everybody? I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com, and I got another movie to review for you guys, and that would be the latest Steven Spielberg epic, The Post, starring Thomas Hanks and Meryl Streep and a slew of supporting cast, Sarah Paulson, Bob Odenkirk, David Cross. This thing is stacked to the brim with supporting characters. I'm missing like a lot of them, so it's not even all of them. So, but this one focuses on the Washington Post and uncovering the Pentagon Papers that were obviously stolen from the Pentagon, exposing the real secrets behind the Vietnam War, and the Washington Post plans to expose it and really call out the government for basically being a bunch of a-holes. So, I saw this movie almost a month ago, and I wanted to kind of sit on it and let it brew inside of me and see how I'd feel about it when I get closer to the embargo release for the review for the critics. And so I sat on it, and now I'm recording it almost a month later. In The Post, when I saw the trailers, I was like, I'm down for it. Cast, director, cool. I don't even know anything more. The Post was good. Now, I know a lot of people, let me take that back because a lot of people are going to twist it. It's a really good movie. And I would actually even say great movie, but there are a couple of things that I noticed about it. I'm still going to give it a very, very high grade because of the technical filmmaking, the overall story and impact. I really do believe it's one of the best of the year for sure. Will it be my top 10? I don't know, because my top 10 is pretty tight right now. I had to kick it out in favor of Lady Bird, so I don't know. We'll see, but The Post is a really great movie, but it won't be as high on my list or even on my list like other people, if that makes any sense. But I will still recommend it highly for people to see because The Post is a very good movie. Okay, so let's get real and break this down. So let's start with some of the positives. Steven Spielberg as the director. It's absolutely wonderful. This movie moves at a swift pace. I was engaged for the most part, and I'll get to that in just a second, to where I just wanted to know what was going to happen, and just the way the camera moved and the way it was edited, it was so swift and in your face. It was like a gut punch of filmmaking, and I really enjoyed it. It just didn't slow down at all, I'd say after the first 30 minutes, but it was really engaging, really important to today's times, considering the administration that we have in office right now and the fact that they want to shut down news organizations. So this was so poignant to today's times. It's kind of incredible that like a story from the 70s can apply to a story of 2017. It's just absolutely insane. But the relevancy of the story really kind of hits home. This is a great film about, the First Amendment and freedom of speech and, what should be guarded and what shouldn't. Like, it's just a great film to kind of showcase the First Amendment, but when you have a great director behind the camera to really have an engaging story that you can get behind, it just makes it all for the better. The performances are really great. Tom Hanks does a really great job. Meryl Streep does a really great job as the person who owns the Post, and she's got to make that decision on whether she wants to post it or not after her board members are telling her, no, don't do this because the president will shut this down. She's like, no, it's our right to do this. If my reporters feel like they have the facts, I'm going to go with them because I know them better than I know you guys. So I thought that was all real strong stuff, and there was a lot of great dialogue conversations back and forth between characters, and a lot of just really potent stuff about the First Amendment and what can they post and what they can't. It's so great in terms of overall the richness of the characters and the dialogue for sure. The cinematography, for the most part, is really good. Like I said, it moves with the swift editing of the film, and it keeps it rolling. Absolutely love it. And then John Williams doing the score. The score was great. I thought it just kind of added that extra little spice that you would need to this type of movie, and it really just kind of highlights the excitement of the news industry, highlights the horrors of the news industry. But I thought the score overall was a great accompaniment to the movie. And some other great parts that I liked about the movie, I wish there was a little bit more of this, was the actual process of making the newspaper. Steven Spielberg made making a newspaper interesting. like when the story goes from like typewriters to print, it is a fascinating process. And I was like, wow, just the way this is like filmed and cut together, like I want to go into the newspaper business now, which is, it's dying, but like I want to go into it now. So it does have that going for it. I do believe the supporting cast is actually better than the main cast. When you have Bob Odenkirk and David Cross and even Sarah Paulson, who's not even in that for much, but she has like this kind of like, reserved performance a little bit, but you kind of feel a lot for her and what she's going through with her and her husband. I felt a lot more power from the supporting cast than I did Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep. I actually think Bob Odenkirk should be nominated for Best Supporting Actor. He's that good. So yeah, it's just one of those weird cases where the supporting cast is actually better than the main cast. Now my issues with the film. A minor nitpick, a pacing problem, and an ending problem. The nitpick is that this film was rumored to be shot in 4 weeks. I'm sorry to call them out, but you can definitely tell in some shots they were rushed. There's a lot of one-take shots. There's a lot of shots with harsh shadows. Don't really think they were supposed to be there. And when you're watching it, you're like, okay, that scene looked fine, that looked professional, but then there'd be some that'd be like, I think they did this not as an artistic reason, but as a time-saving convenience. So I'm not saying that they were terrible shots. I'm just saying it's noticeable. They're just noticeable little nitpicks. As I mentioned earlier, this film does have a nice pace to it after the first 20 to 30 minutes. I do think it's a little slow in the first 20 or 30 minutes. It doesn't really pick up my interest or my intrigue until the papers are actually stolen and handed off. I'm just keeping it real. I liked what I was seeing. I was like, okay, this is a nice little movie. And then once the papers were in a certain character's hands, that's when the movie picked up. And that's when the political intrigue was there. It was saturated into the movie. And I absolutely loved it from that point on. But the first 20 to 30 minutes was a little bit slow. Here's one of the major issues with this movie. And this is why I'm going to kind of hinder my grade into the minus instead of leaving it as is. The ending. I did not like the ending whatsoever. And I will say this. The ending of the film is fine. I'm talking about this little stinger that happens after the film. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It has like a TV sort of feel, like a very episodic cliffhanger where it's like, tune in next week for this. And I was like, get that out of here. Like, we all know what happens after this. Like, we don't need to see this little stinger at the end. I thought it made no sense. Because the way it ended, I thought it was perfect. It was going back and forth dialogue between scenes in a certain area that was for the good and scenes in a certain area that was in the bad. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I like that kind of intercuts going back between those two. It amped up, it's just kind of the overall climax for the end of the film. I was like, oh shit. And then it would just end. And I'd be like, oh, that would be perfect. But the way it was cut together was fine, and then they had the little stinger. I'm like, oh, you just kind of sucked out all the air in the room. Like I said, it's very hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But if they would have edited the end of the movie a little bit better and kind of ended on a really, I guess, more powerful note than it ended on with that stinger, I think it would have made more of an impact as I was leaving the theater instead of thinking about that episodic TV cliffhanger. And I'm sorry that I cursed, but I just get really frustrated when I see stuff like this because I know it could have been better if you just would have cut off like that last 30 to 45 seconds. So that's it for me. I really love this movie. It's a great, relevant movie about the First Amendment and what newspapers can do, especially what's going on with today's times. It is definitely the middle finger to the Trump administration. I'm going to give the Post an A-. I do think it's a very good one for sure. May not make my top 10, but that's okay. I've done a lot of A+ movies that aren't even close to my top 10. It's just a matter of like what I liked more. So, but I do recommend this movie highly to people that are interested. So, what'd you guys think of the poster? Have you even heard of it? Comment in the place above my face to let me know. And as always, guys, I'm Chase Lee reporting for DallasMovieScreenings.com. And tune in next time for whatever I review next. I will see you guys later.